So as we all know, Nikola Jokic has been having an absolutely insane start to the NBA season, and with that in mind, in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this Nikola Jokic build on NBA 2K25, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I think this build is actually really solid, and you could play center on this build without any issue. But with all that out of the way, man, let's get started with today's video. Let's go. Now, as always, for these NBA player build videos, I tried to use almost every single animation that they have in the game, and as you can see, we are using pretty much every single Nikola Jokic animation in the game. And as far as the jump shot goes, we're using base Jonathan Isaac, release 1 Nikola Jokic, release 2 Mike Muscala, just to speed it up a little bit. And it's actually surprising, this jump shot was really good, and I highly recommend that if you're going to use this build, use this jumper. Okay, so for this Nikola Jokic build, we're obviously going to be going center position. Height's going to be 7 foot, weight 255 pounds with a 7'4" wingspan. Now, I know Nikola Jokic's listed height is 6'11", and you can make a 6'11" Jokic build if you want, but you're just going to be super limited on attributes if you go 6'11" in comparison to 7 foot. So I ended up going 7 foot for my build, and yeah, so let's get to it. So we're gonna start things off with the finishing here. We're going to put the close shot up to an 84. It's gonna get us paint prodigy on silver, float game silver, hook specialist on bronze at the moment. Now we're going to be putting a lot into our finishing, and the next thing that we're going to do is put our driving layup all the way up to an 89. Okay, and this is where we need to start talking about cap breakers, because for my build, I'm gonna put 1 cap breaker on driving layup, bring it to a 90 to get physical finisher on gold. Right now, we're just gonna leave it at that 89. As you can see, we still get gold aerial wizard, gold float game, and this is actually a badge I max +1 on this build to Hall of Fame. So I have Hall of Fame float game with the Nikola Jokic layup style, and we get some really good layup animations, floater animations. I think actually having high driving layup on a center build isn't that bad of a thing to have in this year's game. If you get hit early on like a slip on a pick and roll, you have the option to kick out to an open teammate if they're gonna rotate. You have an option to get to a floater before the defense can close out if they're rotating. So actually kind of like having the driving layup. Now for the driving dunk, we're just going to put this to a 65. Standing dunk is going to be an 81 for the big man standing contact dunks and silver rise up. And then the post control is going to be an 87. Get you gold post powerhouse, gold post up poet. Again, we only have silver hook specialist on this build, but if you want to, you could put your close shot up to an 87 if you want to get that hook specialist on gold. But in my personal opinion, post hooks are not good in this year's game. I know Nikola Jokic is known for his hook shot. That's one of the best moves that he's got is his hook shot. He's so efficient with his hook shots and his touches in the paint, but having high close shot is not really that great in this year's game. Contested close shots don't really go in when you're trying to intentionally time them. It's even funnier, they just go in when you have like no timing on. It's weird. I don't like having high close shot on my builds, but I like having high driving layup because it gives me more opportunities to finish in different ways around the rim. But 87 post control, we're gonna get a lot of good post scoring badges. Gold post powerhouse, gold post up poet's gonna be really nice. But yeah, if you want the gold hook specialist, if you really want it, you can go for it. Just put the close shot up to an 87, but I just don't like post hooks in this game. They're just not easy to time. They're not a good shot to go to. I'd rather time a post fade, to be honest with you. Speaking of post fades, they actually made a whole lot of changes to Jokic's post fade animation in this year's game. And I mean, a lot of just changes to his animations in total. It feels like an NBA 2K25, he had a lot of animations in the previous game, and they've really just added on top of that this year. So if you remember last year on 2K24, when you would do a floater, you would get the exact same floater animation pretty much every single time. That is not really the case this year. When you do floaters on this build, you get a bunch of different animations right here. Gonna catch the ball, run towards the left, and just go straight to the floater, and it's gonna go in. I don't even have to time that. And boys, I'm not gonna lie to you, I genuinely think floaters are back on 2K25, but that's just gonna be a conversation we'll have to have a little bit later on in a different vid. Look at this right here. We're gonna get to the wing, ISO, behind the back, run straight to the rim, just hold straight up on the right stick. It's an open layup. There's 3 people jumping at me, and it's an open layup. That's a footer trying to finish at the rim right here. Floater. I don't even know why that was a yellow, to be honest with you. He put his hands up, but he was like 5 feet away from me, so that was kind of weird. Now, I didn't get to showcase it a whole lot, but I do like his post fade. Speaking of post fades, let's get to that mid-range shot. We're gonna put that up to an 85. That's gonna get a silver deadeye, silver set shot specialist, gold post fade phenom. And this is now where we can talk about my second max +1, which is going to be set shot specialist. We're gonna max +1 this to gold. So gold set shot specialist with float game on Hall of Fame on this build is what we're gonna be using. And then for the mid-range shot, we're gonna put this up to an 80. Free throw is going to be a 75. And when it comes to the shooting shooting highlights on this build, I personally think you can spot up wherever you want on this build and be able to shoot comfortably. I think bigs, especially like stretch bigs, being able to shoot on the hash is way more of a possible thing this year, especially considering that bigs can put their jump shot speed all the way up to very quick, which is very different from how it was in previous 2Ks, where the past 2-3 years you could only put your shot speed up to normal. So putting a stretch big on the hash was way more difficult because you'd have to worry about pinches. It'd be a lot easier to close out on a big since he has slower jump shot timings. But this year, that's just not the case. You could put a big on the wing without any issue. You're going to be able to shoot over people even if they do close out, and your jump shot's just going to be so much faster than it was last year. Now, speaking of jump shots, I showed the jump shot to this build earlier on in the video. It's within the first 30 seconds of the vid. So if you have made it to this point, you haven't seen the jump shot, you're just skipping around a little bit too much. I ain't gonna lie. And if you see somebody ask for the jump shot in the comments, you already know they didn't see it or they didn't hear me talk about it here. But yeah, I think it's actually really easy to shoot on this build. I enjoy shooting in this year's game. I think it's actually one of the very few things that I really like in this year's game, especially like the rhythm shooting. I know I'm a little bit of a minority when it comes to rhythm shooting, but I really like the rhythm shooting in this year's game. As far as anything else that I really like about this year's game, hey man, we'll talk about it at a different day, but I like the shooting. And now we're moving on to the playmaking. Playmaking, we're going to put the pass accuracy up to a 93. It's gonna get us break starter on Hall of Fame, dimer on Hall of Fame. This is another badge you can max +1 if you want. If you don't want to do float game, you can max +1 dimer all the way up to legend if you really want to. Then for the ball handle, 70 ball handle, speed with ball 55, just for the Jokic dribble style if you really want to use it, but I would prefer to just use normal. Now this is by far the best thing about this build, which is obvious to be expected because this is a Nikola Jokic build. This is what he's known for, is his passing, his playmaking. And having a 93 pass accuracy is really nice on NBA 2K25. As you can see, like I mentioned earlier on in the video, I am using all of Nikola Jokic's animations on this build, which include his pass style. Now there are some moments where the pass style is really great, and there are some moments where the pass style is not good at all, but it's just a little bit of give and take here and there. But I actually kind of like his pass style. It's not terrible, I'll put it that way. It's not the worst pass style I've used this year, because there are some instances where he does like I don't want to say it's a jump pass, but it feels like it's a jump pass. I think that would be a good example right there. If you're running the break and he does like this, like basically like high release point pass, and basically those animations will never get tipped by a defender that's in front of you. That's kind of like a thing that happens a lot this year when you try to pass. Sometimes the defender in front of you will just tip it if they're like in the line of the pass's like trajectory. When you're using this pass style, he has a pretty high release point on a lot of the passes that he does, so that doesn't happen as often, which is kind of nice. And now for the defense, right? 74 interior defense, get bronze post move lockdown. We all know Nikola Jokic is not known for being an amazing defender, so don't be surprised here that the defense on this build is going to be too great. 62 perimeter defense for bronze immovable enforcer, 60 steal for bronze interceptor, and then a 74 block for bronze paint patroller and bronze high flying denier. And pretty much all that's left now is the rebounding. We're going to put that to 91. This is where we're going to use my full set of cap breakers, and we're going to bump this up to a 96 to get Hall of Fame rebound chaser, 77 offensive rebound just to get some O boards here and there. Unless if I'm making like a super competitive pro-am center type of build, I don't really like having super high offensive rebound because a lot of times I'm going to be popping wide open top of the key, so there's no point me having O board when I'm going to be wide open top of the key a lot. I'm going to be popping a lot on this build, so I just figured not too important of having super high O board, but that's the whole build. 91 strength, get you a gold brick wall, gold post powerhouse like we mentioned, then 77 vertical for a badge that I think is actually really underrated this year, which is pogo stick. But yeah, this is the full Nikola Jokic build. Obviously there are some changes that you can make to this build if you really wanted to. If you really want higher close shot, you can. You could drop the layup down to an 80 and then put this close shot up if you wanted to, but I like having the 90 driving layup. I think it's a nice fun addition to the build. It allows me to finish at the rim in a lot of ways that I normally couldn't. But yeah, this is the Nikola Jokic build. Again, for the people that kind of skip to the end, cap breakers wise, 5 of them is going to go to defensive rebound for 96, D-board for Hall of Fame rebound chaser, and then one's going to go to driving layup for 90 to get physical finisher on gold. So now coming out of the My Player Builder, we're going to get shades of, you guessed it, Nikola Jokic, DeMarcus Cousins, and Alperen Şengün. And we're going to get the build name 3-level scoring playmaker, which I think is a really cool build name for this type of build. It makes a whole lot of sense. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and that's it. I'm out. Later.